Well, good evening, everybody, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's webinar. And I know we could be doing a whole lot of different things with our evening, and I certainly appreciate you all spending, a portion of your evening with us to learn about this thing called Beamer. So all that we ask you guys to do is sit back and relax. Keep in mind the purpose of tonight's presentation is to simply give you an overview, some insight to this remarkable technology that we're so excited about bringing it to the marketplace. And we're so excited about it, guys, because based on 11 months of involvement, if this is any indicator in terms of what's to come, Beamer will no doubt have its place in the medical history books. And we feel that the Beamer technology has the ability to literally change healthcare as we know it. So most of tonight's presentation, I'd say about 95% of the talk tonight is going to be about the remarkable product itself. But I also know that there's some serious entrepreneurs, and we're going to actually talk about our business model and our go-to-market strategy toward the end. And all I ask you guys to be patient. It will be well worth the wait. And I've actually been around the Beamer technology for the past year. And it's funny how the universe works in that when Beamer came into my life, I was not looking for another business. I was actually looking to help my best friend who had got some dreadful news from a big-time hospital up here in Chicago. And he actually reached out to me to find out if there's anything out there that he could be doing to, kind of stay ahead of that diagnosis, be proactive, rather than just being at the mercy of the doctors and the hospitals. And health, I think we'd all agree, is a funny thing. Many times we don't really appreciate it until it's compromised or until it's gone, kind of like a marriage or a relationship. It isn't until we lose it that we start to pay attention to it. And then all of a sudden we would do anything and everything to regain it as we lost it along the way. Well, I'm happy to tell you that tonight we're actually going to be discussing Beamer technology. And when you really understand it, you'll appreciate why we actually call it a Nobel Prize-worthy technology. You see, in America, we got the healthcare puzzle backwards. We're told that the insurance cards that we carry in our wallets and in our purses, that's our health insurance card. And the reality, you guys, it is the exact opposite, because you never use it when you're healthy. We only use it when we're sick or if there's a crisis care intervention of some sort that needs to be tended to. And so in reality, that's nothing more than sickness care. What we're going to be talking about tonight, you guys, is real health, real life insurance. So imagine having the ultimate health insurance policy that money can buy for you and your family for no more than a cup of coffee per day. So I just want you guys to sit back. There's no high pressure here. This is essentially an invitation to learn, start to dig in on Beamer, and this is one of those rare occasions where the deeper and the closer that you look into Beamer, the more impressive it really becomes. And then it's at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you're going to want to do like I did, like the person that invited you, like over 1 million people around the world have already said yes to Beamer, because at the end of the day, guys, it makes total sense. And so here's our invitation. As you see that young lady stretched across that little nice chair, she's actually laying on our Beamer full body applicator. And guys, so the invitation is this: Beamer, 8 minutes twice a day. It's something that anybody and everybody can do, particularly if your health is of importance to you. You see, during those 8 minutes twice a day, Beamer has the ability to influence your circulatory system in a way that nothing else in the world can. The circulatory system, guys, we call that the river of life. Even in the Bible, they tell you the life is in the blood. So you see, as you lay on that full body applicator with that control box in your, on the right side of your screen there, imagine this thing has the ability to generate a patented energy signal configuration known as the Beamer wave. And through that full body applicator, that energy, if you will, is transferred to your body. So you get a systemic session over the course of those 8 minutes. And that signal configuration has the ability to communicate with your cells. And at the end of the day, guys, what we're talking about is influencing blood flow. I think you'd all agree. I mean, when you think about the blood, what is the blood's role here? Isn't it the blood that carries the oxygen and the nutrients to the cell? It's also the blood that takes away the toxins from the cell. So imagine 8 minutes twice a day by simply improving blood flow, your circulation, if you will. Imagine all of the benefits that you're looking at on your screen. Nutrition, the nutrients and oxygen go to the cell, waste gets disposed of, you sleep better than you've had in years, if not ever. You got more energy than you want, you know what to do with. That mental clarity and that focus and concentration is there, kind of like what it was, 15, 20, 30 years ago. And guys, here's the cool thing. We're just learning about Beamer here in the United States, but Beamer is not on trial. Beamer has been out there for the past 17 years. We just now have the good fortune to benefit from it. And guys, the timing for America is absolutely perfect. The reality is this is how America rolls today. If you're honest with yourself, if you're not using Beamer, chances are on a scale of 1 to 10, from a 10 being I got the ultimate energy that I could want. I'm sleeping as good as possible. I got that spring in my step, and I'm really excited about this thing called life. And 0 being basically I'm dead. And so the reality is most of Americans, if they're honest with themselves, they would rate themselves somewhere between a level 3 and a level 4. On your screen there, you're looking at all of these symptoms, if you will. The number one complaint at the doctor today, you guys, is the fact that I'm tired. I've got no energy to get throughout my day. I need that mid-afternoon nap. We know that today the stress levels are as high as they've ever been, and we just have got that discomfort, that restless feeling. We just know that something isn't right. And so as you're looking at those symptoms, guys, could it be a function of something as simple as a disrupted blood flow or circulatory system? Think about it logically, right? If you're disrupting the blood flow, doesn't it stand to reason that less blood flow going around, that means that less oxygen and nutrients are getting to the cell. That means that more toxins are staying inside of that cell, and that means that you got lower cardiac function. And guys, that's what the deal is going around, not just in America, but all over the world. And because of the stress levels, because of the environmental toxins, which are also at all-time high, when you look at our society, we are now a sedentary society. Guys, there's a saying today, and that is sitting is today smoking. Our bodies are not designed to sit all day long, because the more that you sit, the less circulatory action you got going on. We all know the impact that fast food has had, not just on our country, but all over the world. And the end result is, you guys, is we've got a healthcare crisis on our hands at literally epidemic proportions. And as a people, as a family, you know what? It's up to us to really start to change the landscape of this whole philosophy as it relates to healthcare. And I love the quote there on your screen that Edison talks about. The doctors of the future will give no medicine, but they're going to teach the people how the body works, the importance of diet, right, and the cause and prevention of disease. That's the mentality we've got to get back to, you guys, because right now, if you really understand our healthcare model, it's a sickness model that's really based upon managing disease and treating symptoms. You're looking on your screen a book I would recommend to each and every one of you, Our Daily Meds, Melody Peterson. Everything in there is documented. And the bottom line is, you guys, is America is literally hooked on prescription drugs, so much so that we actually outspend the rest of the industrialized world combined as it relates to prescription drugs. That's absolutely pathetic, you guys. And the end result, again, is we are at epidemic proportions. Don't take my word for it. What you're looking at now these are the government statistics dating back to 1985, just over 30 years ago, guys. And the chart and the color that you're paying attention to is that baby blue that you see mostly on the western part of the country. So we're going to fast forward just 5 years. Notice there's been a pretty significant shift in terms of the grade of blue, if you will, or the shade of blue. Now we go to 2000. Notice there's just one blue square in the middle, that light blue. And guys, in 25 years, there's absolutely no blue whatsoever. Now, this is as it relates to chronic illness and obesity. Now, I think we would all agree we are now into 2016. Based upon that progression that you just saw, I think we'd all agree that 2016, the chart is even more damaging, if you will. And so it isn't just a situation that's, reserved for the USA. Now, epidemic proportions all over the world as it relates to chronic illness and obesity. When you think about the impact that diabetes by itself will have on the global healthcare systems, it is literally, not sustainable. You see, every one of you on tonight's webinar, I'll bet you know at least 3, if not 5, 10, perhaps even 20 people that have diabetes. And it's not just the adults any longer, it's also kids, 5, 6, 7 years old are now coming up with diabetic, symptoms. And if you look at the cost of diabetes, again, these are the government statistics, in less than 20 years, we will be spending on diabetes and obesity what we're spending on the entire healthcare equation, you guys. And by the way, that is north of $3 trillion. So imagine that's more than most countries' GDP. We spent over $3 trillion, and yet we don't even rank in the top 40 as it relates to longevity and overall well-being. So when you look at the fact that cardiovascular disease is the leading killer all over the world. So getting back to Beamer, imagine 8 minutes twice a day. If all Beamer did, you guys, is lighten the load on that ticker of ours, that heart, that muscle that's no bigger than the size of your fist. If all Beamer did 8 minutes twice a day was ease the load on that, that in and of itself would be worth the price of entry. Now, as we go forward, please understand, you guys, yes, we're really, really excited about the Beamer technology, but Beamer's by no means a replacement for your doctor. If you're under the care of a practitioner, please continue to do that. Also understand that we are not suggesting that Beamer is going to cure or treat any kind of illnesses or diseases, nor do we diagnose disease. Just so we're straight, I want to put that disclaimer out there. But in doing that, I also want to give you a serious comfort level in terms of where Beamer is today. Beamer right now is registered with the FDA as a Class 1 medical device. We've submitted the paperwork to them for Class 2 approval. Now, here's the kicker of tonight's webinar. Because of where we are in this approval phase, if you will, we are not actually even allowed to discuss what Beamer, the real details in terms of what Beamer is world-renowned and famous for, okay? Now, understand the Class 2 approval that we're seeking from the FDA, we've already been granted that and then some in over 40 countries around the world, most of that being over in Europe, okay? We feel very good about the exchange back and forth, so it's now just a function of time. As you're doing your due diligence, and keep in mind we want you to, you're going to understand that there's nothing like Beamer anywhere in the world, and it is protected by 5 very strong, very broad patents. In Germany alone, imagine, Beamer's in over 4,000 hospitals and universities and clinical settings, and since we're talking about Germany and most of Europe for that matter, guys, over there, they're on the hook for healthcare. And so when you're footing the bill for healthcare, of course it stands to reason to come up with ways to curb healthcare costs. And if you could do it in non-surgical, non-chemically related fashion, that's all the better. So over there, they are much further along, you guys, as it relates to real wellness and real healthcare. Why? It's because they're on the hook for it. And that's actually what started the entire search for Beamer. Okay, and I'm going to come back to that in a couple slides. Now, if you're that individual, you could actually be a doctor or practitioner of some sort on tonight's webinar. If you need the science, you need all the details, you want the studies, you want to know what Beamer's been actually up to over the past 17 years, start with PubMed and then get back to the person that invited you. I'm happy to tell you that we've got all of the details, all the documents, all the studies that you're going to need to satisfy your own due diligence. But as you're doing your due diligence, also understand, you guys, there's a little organization called NASA that's done some crazy due diligence. And I think we would all agree that no one on tonight's webinar has the ability to dissect technology to the degree that NASA can. And understand, NASA's interest was to help the astronauts, because most people don't understand when these astronauts, they leave the Earth's atmosphere, right, and they get into that zero gravity situation, that wreaks havoc on them physically as it relates to bone density loss and muscle atrophy. So without boring you with the details, once NASA did their due diligence, we actually, as of March of last year, we signed a joint venture agreement with them. And the game plan here is we're developing undergarments for the astronauts so they get help as it relates to blood flow and circulation while they're in outer space. And so what the Germans have done, what Beamer has already figured out a way, you guys, is to take the Beamer technology that you saw that's being transmitted through that full body applicator. They are now able to put it into fabric, weave it into textiles and fabric. And so imagine undergarments for the astronauts, which then opens the door for another product category for us down the road, which will be in the space of wearables, okay? Beamer's tucked away in this tiny little enclave called Liechtenstein, where Austria, Switzerland, Germany kind of combine. 30,000 people only, yet there's over 100,000 businesses registered there. And suffice it to say, it's very conducive to set up shop over in Liechtenstein. Beamer is actually owned and solely owned, privately held by the Gleim family. This family is actually largely credited with taking the direct sales model that Peter Gleim Sr. learned from us here in the US of A, and he taught Europe the direct sales model, and his family, as a result of that, became fabulously wealthy. As a matter of fact, the inventor of the Beamer signal technology, Dr. Kafka, from the Max Planck Institute, I believe, over in Berlin, they actually sought out the Gleim family to bring the product to the marketplace. And the method of distribution that they chose, which is the exact same method of distribution that helped them to make themselves an absolute fortune, is the direct sales model that we're going to talk about toward the end of tonight's call. So Peter started the company, you guys. Now the kids are running it. And so what they're really setting themselves up is for a generational run here, because both Pitt and Nick, they've got young kids that they will soon be grooming to take over the helm. This is the corporate headquarters. As we talked about, Beamer is not on trial. 1 million plus users, 4,000 hospitals, clinics, universities. We talked about in Germany alone. You got the best of both worlds, guys. You got German engineering, Swiss craftsmanship. Now, here's also, as a businessman, and I'm not a doctor by any means, but I'm pretty good at identifying products that have the ability to get traction in the marketplace. And when I saw the statistic pointing to the fact that just through 12,000 distributors spread across 40 countries, they've been able to impact over 1 million people's livelihoods. That clearly tells you that people are buying Beamer because it makes sense to own Beamer. And interestingly enough, guys, as you start to really understand how we do business, we don't sell Beamer, people buy Beamer. Keep in mind, purpose of tonight is to give you an overview, give you some insight, and what you're going to come to the conclusion is as you start to do your own due diligence, you're going to come to that conclusion that we all did, that you want to actually buy Beamer. Okay, that's actually myself in the very back there. And we actually took 12 of us over to Liechtenstein. That's us at the top rooftop of the building that you just saw. And guys, it was right about 3 months ago. And needless to say, we got an inside look in terms of what is actually going on over in Liechtenstein, what they're sitting on right now, who they've surrounded themselves, and where they're positioned to go in the future, you guys. And I'm telling you, when we talk about we will change the face of healthcare as we know it, that's exactly what's going to happen. As you look at the picture on your screen, this iceberg principle, you see, we only pay attention to the 10% that shows. Sometimes I crack up. People say, well, why do I need Beamer? I'm healthy. Well, just because you don't show any symptoms at the time doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. Think about it. 90% of that iceberg is below the surface, right? I relate to that as our body's internal terrain, right? Internal terrain. So think about it. If that internal terrain has been compromised and now you've got less blood flowing, that means that less oxygen and nutrients getting to the cell. That means that more waste is staying in the cell, and that means that lower cardiac function. So think of this now as just a recipe for trouble. And so now it becomes a function of, is it going to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years before you get that dreadful news from the doctor? And then how America treats that situation is, we are going to manage the disease and for the rest of your life, and we're going to just deal with the symptoms. The reason that we're attracting so many, awesome, some of the brightest healthcare minds in our country, because these guys clearly get the only way that you're going to affect health long term is you got to change the terrain inside, and that's exactly what Beamer's function is, and it's absolutely awesome. When you look at our circulatory system, we all been blessed with trillions of cells, right? And if you think about the number one requirement for the cell is oxygen. Oxygen, nutrients in, waste getting out. That's really the formula, guys. And keep this in mind, getting rid of the toxins is just as important as is the oxygen and the nutrients getting in. Now, this is the screen. If you do nothing else tonight, if you catch nothing else of tonight's presentation, this is the screen that you really want to pay attention to, because this right now represents our circulatory system, which we call the river of life. And the part of our circulatory system, you guys, that we're familiar with, that also your cardiologist is familiar with, are arteries and veins. These are the big guys. These are the big carriers of blood to and from, right? This is the part of the cardiovascular system that we could affect. The cardiologist could do the stents, they could do the bypass, they could even do a heart transplant. As remarkable as that is, we all know that that is indeed the case. But if you do the math there, 11.5 and 14.5, that's only, and the key word here is only, that's only 26% of our circulatory system. And I don't know about you, but I'm saying to myself, okay, so where's the rest of it? And the rest of it is in these things called microvessels, right? Imagine having 70,000 plus miles of these things called microvessels. And to give you an idea how tiny, pluck out a strand of hair, now chop it up by at least 7. That will give you an idea how tiny microvessels are. Okay, so you were invited to learn about Beamer. So here's the thing. Beamer, you guys, has the ability to influence the most important part of your circulatory system in a way that nothing else in the world can. And when we talk about Nobel Prize worthy technology, understand, guys, prior to Beamer coming along, there's been no way to influence the most important part of your circulatory system in any meaningful fashion. Drugs do not affect that portion of your circulatory system because there's no receptors there. And drugs will never be able to influence that part of your circulatory system. That's where Beamer shines, and that's what we're seeking approval for, which, by the way, we've already been granted, as we talked about, in over 40 countries, right? So when you look at the arteries, right, they carry the good stuff in. You know, the blood coming through the arteries, they're red. Why? Because they're loaded with nutrients. They're full of oxygen. And it's at that capillary level where that exchange takes place. Oxygen and nutrients go in. Waste is then transported out by way of the veins. They're the ones that are taking that metabolic waste, the carbon dioxide. And if you remember the chart, 11.5 went to the arteries, and 14.5 actually goes to the veins. Why is that more? Because they're the ones carrying out the waste, okay? But the magic, you guys, is what happens at that capillary or that exchange. That's where all of the good stuff takes place. So again, back to this circulation. And again, I think we would all agree when that circulatory system is limited, that means less oxygen and nutrients in, more waste staying behind, and that, again, is not good for us, as we all know. Now, needless to say, if you could open up the pathways, right, open up that circulatory system, now more oxygen and nutrients get in, waste is now getting transported out of there, and you start to feel better than you have literally in years. So what you're looking at on your screen right now, it's not an ant farm. It's not the 405 in Southern California, guys. This is a real live human being, and what we're there showing you is disrupted blood flow, okay? By the way, this is done with equipment that costs about 25 million euro to develop. This is a real live human being, so that will give you an idea of a compromised circulatory system. And notice the tiny little guys there. Look at all of the breaks in between. Wherever you see a break, it's kind of like an ant farm, right? Wherever you see a break, there's literally a break there from oxygen and nutrients getting in and waste getting out. Now, let's have something to compare with. Now, imagine this. This is functional blood flow. Notice how much faster and more rapid and smoother the blood is flowing, and there's very little breaks going on in those tiny little guys, right? So to give you a side-by-side comparison, a little frame of reference, that's what most of the world is functioning on the left. And I don't know about you all, but I've been asking myself, okay, so if that's how most people are functioning on the left, how do we get to the right side of that screen? And the most efficient way to do that, 8 minutes twice a day with Beamer, okay? As you're doing your homework, understand because of the enormous success that Beamer's had in the marketplace, we've attracted some of these so-called competitors. And I say that so-called because that's exactly what they are. They're comparing themselves to Beamer. Beamer compares themselves to no one. So these guys are going to suggest to you because of their patented signal configuration, they could do what Beamer can and then some. Well, as you look at your screen, the reality is how many stimulations per second are those guys running off of as it relates to how many Beamer is stimulating. As you see, it's 1,200 stimulations per second, okay? Now, these other guys, they're what are called PEMF units, right? Pulsed electromagnetic field type of technologies, and they're good if you're looking for, a little pain reduction and just a little discomfort out of the way. That's what those guys are good for. Beamer essentially gives you that, but where Beamer is famous for is its impact on the circulatory system. That's where we're head and shoulders, you guys, above and beyond anything and everything. So when you're laying on that full body applicator, there's 3 sets of coils that actually transfer that Beamer signal to you. The current is very low, as you can see, 3.5 to 35 microtesla. To give you something to compare that to, your cell phone is 600 microtesla. So think of the patented Beamer signal configuration as the song, and that song has the ability to communicate with your cells in an unbelievable fashion, and then you get to dictate the intensity. Think of that as the volume by simply pressing a button or two on the device. What you're going to find out is Beamer's not just sitting on their laurels, you guys. I mean, these guys are really heavily vested in R&D. 17 years ago, where the first Beamer hit the streets, imagine 1 8-minute session. The effect of that lasted only up to 1 hour, and yet people were still marveling at the results. Version 2.0 comes along now, 1 8-minute session. The effects are good for up to 4 hours. Today's technology, you guys, 1 8-minute session, the effects of it are as good for anywhere from 12 to 16 hours. So one of the patents, right, one of the 5 patents is this thing called the plus signal. We call that the rhythm giver. And so when you start out your day, think about it. You're going to go out there now, it's you against the world, and regardless of what industry you're in, the reality is to get through your day, we need what? We need more energy. We want to feel stronger. We need that mental clarity. We need that focus to get the job done. That's what the Beamer Plus technology or that signal gets to you, right? We've also patented a sleep program, realizing that 3/4 of America is sleep deprived for whatever reason. One of the very first things that our Beamer owners will talk about is the fact that they're now sleeping better than they have in years, and I mean in years, you guys. And we all know the difference between disrupted sleep versus having that, that 7-8 hours of that deep, regenerative, that healing sleep. Because what a lot of people don't realize, guys, it's during that deep regenerative type of sleep, you have to get into that zone in order for the body to work at its optimum as it relates to fixing and repairing and detoxifying, because that's when it takes place. So the Beamer signal for the sleep program is designed to calm that autonomic nervous system down, and it really gets you into that, lulls you into that really deep sleep, and you wake up feeling refreshed, energized, ready to go. That's absolutely awesome. You're looking at Dr. Rainier Klopp. So this guy was commissioned by the government of Germany to figure out a way to help the elderly population, the senior market, as it related to circulatory issues, because they were seeing the expenses were just skyrocketing. And it was actually Dr. Rainier Klopp, one of the leading, if not the leading authority in the world as it relates to this thing called microcirculation. He actually sought BEMER out. He found BEMER, and he actually went out to figure it out and proved himself in his laboratory that BEMER was absolutely an amazing technology that he was going to align himself with. So what he did with his crew over at the Institute of Microcirculation a little over 2 years ago, actually it's 3 years ago now, they actually took today's BEMER, not the BEMER of 17 years ago that some of our so-called competitors are doing side-by-side comparisons with, and he needed to know deep down, was BEMER as good, if not better, than all these so-called competitors. And guys, we actually did 4 different parameters. You're looking at only one of them. The only reason we're looking at just one, because of where we are, that FDA Class 2 approval, we can't get into specifics here, but suffice it to say that BEMER is in orange. Interestingly enough, day 3, they shut all of the devices off, because what they were looking to identify is what was the residual effect of each and every one of these units. And notice on day 4, the residual effect from BEMER is actually at a higher point than any of these other so-called competitors, even at their peak stages, right? Now, keep in mind, this is one of the leading authorities in the world that he and his crew at the Institute of Microcirculation actually did side-by-side comparisons. So when Dr. Klopp tells you that BEMER is no doubt the most effective and widely researched technology of this kind in the marketplace, that is exactly what it is. So let's talk about now, what does it actually take to own BEMER, right? And so it actually comes in 2 options. You're looking at the BEMER Classic. It comes with the B box. That's the actual brains behind it, if you will. And you're going to simply depress buttons 1 through 10, depending upon the time of the day and what the body's needs are. And that energy signal configuration is transferred to the body by way of B-Body Classic. That's the full body applicator. B-Spot is for the very specific targeted attention, right? And then the B-Scan is designed to actually pick up the BEMER signal just to give you that sense of comfort that something is actually happening to your body. And the reason we do that is because BEMER does not put off any kind of heat. You're not going to get a massaging sensation or anything like that. You're going to lay on that full body applicator. And guys, it took me about 2 weeks for me to start to feel anything. Part of the reason I moved down to Florida, my hands and my feet have been cold ever since I could remember. I mean, ice cold, clammy, both my hands and in my feet. And after about 2 weeks of doing BEMER twice a day, I could literally start to feel that warming, tingling sensation, especially in my hands and in my feet. And I knew that something really special was going on. So BEMER Classic, the price for BEMER Classic, you guys, is $42.90. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is for a professional model. This is what 98% of our customers are choosing. And the main reason is you guys, is with the professional model, you can actually do 2 different modalities at the same time, simultaneously of each other, right? Independent of each other, excuse me. So, and along with that, you actually get 2 additional applicators. B-Pad, we'll talk about what some of the uses and applications of that are here in just a few minutes. And then B-Light is actually for the skin. B-Light by itself is a $700 value. The price point on BEMER Professional is $59.90. And guys, let me tell you, it will be the best $59.90 you will ever spend. To give you an idea, what I'm dealing with, I'm self-employed, my wife and I, 3 kids. I pay $1,497 and change every single month for my premiums, right? Round that off, that's about $18,000 in premiums alone. On top of that, I pay the first $6,250 deductible. For me, if it's my family, it's $12,500. That essentially equates to 4 BEMER Professionals every single year before the insurance company drops 1 dime. BEMER actually comes with a 3-year warranty. Keep in mind, you guys, these are built by Germans. German engineering, Swiss craftsmanship. You got the best of both worlds. Lifetime updates. And on a professional model, especially, just like your iPhone, anytime that there's a software upgrade, you can actually download that from the internet, and then there's a USB port on the side of that control box, and you can stay updated, right? User and technical hotline, Dr. Joshua Burka, absolutely amazing individual. He's our medical director. He, along with his crew, they make themselves available 3 days a week. So if people are customers or if our distributors, if they've got any kind of health challenges as it relates to the usage of Beamer, that's what that user hotline is for. It's absolutely an awesome value add. And again, 1 million very excited users all over the world. With our professional model, guys, the use is very simple and easy. I'm over here with my mom and dad here in Northwest Indiana. And guys, they've never been on a computer ever, and they use Beamer. They're able to navigate it very simply because with this unit, it's just a function of purple, blue, yellow, or red. Purple is for the full body applicator. Blue is for the individual, applicators. And then yellow is to sleep on, and red is for the skin. We're going to talk about that here shortly. So as it relates to the full body applicator, this gentleman obviously has got it on his couch. You can put it in your bed. I prefer it on the carpet, on the floor. You can put it in a chair, wherever you like. And you don't necessarily even have to lay on top of it. You could actually drape it over somebody if, let's just say, they're bound to a wheelchair. They're just not able to get on top of it. It serves the same function. So that's B-Body, the full body applicator. V-Pad is phenomenal. That young lady's got it draped over her shoulder. There's many different uses and applications for this. This is one of my favorite accessories because she uses it across her shoulder. You could drape it around your neck. I broke my back when I was 18 years old. I've had horrendous lower back pain and discomfort. And what I love to do is I love to take B-Pad, you guys, from the base of my neck all the way vertically down my spine. And I do a 20-minute session on that after I'm done with that full body applicator. And it's enabled me to do things I never thought I would do again. Also, think about this. B-Pad, if you draped it across your midsection, what's there are all of the good stuff. You know, your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas, your spleen, the colon. I mean, all those vital organs are there. So while you're laying on that full body applicator, now you're giving that whole midsection some additional attention. And it's amazing the results that people are reporting from that little ritual. So those are just some of the uses for B-Pad. B-Spot is that individual has on his elbow, right? Targeted nutrition targeted attention, because both the B-Pad, what we just saw, and the B-Spot, they're actually 3 times as strong as that full body applicator is. One of the uses that many eye care professionals, from surgeons, all in different parts of the country, what they're recommending is that their patients, while they're laying on the full body applicator, they're actually putting B-Spot on the temple for 4 minutes at a time. And keep in mind, your eyes are all made of those tiny little micro vessels, guys. And not me saying it, but the doctors are reporting unbelievable results and improvement in eye health. Don't take my word for it. It's out there if you want to go search it out. Okay, so that's B-Spot. B-Light is actually phenomenal for the skin. Any kind of skin-related condition, B-Light is phenomenal for that. Again, while you're laying on that full body applicator, monochromatic LED is phenomenal for the skin. And so that's what we're looking at there. The telltale sign, and I know as humans, many times we have that placebo effect. We want to believe something so bad, it's pretty amazing what you can convince the mind to do. But who doesn't understand placebo at all are your pets. Invariably, talk to any Beamer owner that has a pet in the house. As soon as that full body applicator is turned on, for that entire 8 minutes, that pet is going to come park itself on that full body applicator, and it will not move. And believe it or not, we've got people down in Florida that are buying Beamer more so for their pets, you guys, than they are for themselves or their family members. Absolutely amazing results with pets. Since we're talking about animals, Linda Tellington-Jones is one of the most amazing, remarkable people I've ever met. She's actually known as the original horse whisperer She's written books that have sold millions of copies, travels about 270 days a year all over the world teaching what she's world renowned for, something called the T-Touch, right? She actually bumped into Beamer 17 years ago as a keynote speaker in Germany for the largest horse show in the world. Beamer actually launched back then, 17 years ago. Linda will tell you that that was the best money she's ever spent as it relates to her health. We've come full circle now. She's actually going to be our face, if you will, for our new veterinary model that's coming out later this year. We're very, very excited about that affiliation with Linda Tillington-Jones. So we talked about human, right? We talked about animal health. Also, leaves and agriculture. They've got their plants. They've got their own little circulatory system. So while we were in Liechtenstein, we got a little sneak peek at some of the things that they're doing in that world. Suffice it to say that it's absolutely amazing what happens when that Beamer, that patented signal configuration, that technology, that wave of the future has the impact on seed and agriculture, as you're seeing on your screen. Absolutely awesome. Now, we talked about the fact that Beamer is not on trial. When you're looking at your screen, when you could partner with the University of Rome and Budapest, the likes of Dr. Bernie Siegel, known all over the country here in terms of what he's doing with cancer. When you can partner with world-class sports organizations like AC Milan, okay? Over in Germany, over in Europe, we all know that soccer is the football of over there. AC Milan is one of the biggest brands in all of Europe as it relates to soccer. As a matter of fact, just recently, Beamer has now partnered with FC Schalke, which is one of the most popular sports soccer clubs in all of Europe. We are now officially their sponsor. You're looking at their stadium. Notice the Beamer signal, the Beamer banner inside of the stadium. The visibility there will put us in front of literally millions of eyeballs throughout Europe and ultimately all over the world. Because right now we're actually in discussions with some of the most popular, biggest names in professional sports here in the United States. If you follow tennis, legendary players like Boris Becker, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, rumor has it he's been using Beamer for the past 13 years. If you follow his career, guys, he's in his mid-30s. He should not be doing what he's doing on the tennis court. He's never missed a major tournament. He's number 2 in the world. Absolutely awesome results. Peter Smith, right here in the United States, he runs one of the top tennis programs year after year. They've been using Beamer since 2010. This we did in collaboration with Adidas over in South Africa, right? So think about, as an athlete going into the event, what do you want? What does the body need? We need to feel stronger and energetic. We need to be focused and have that mental clarity in terms of what it is that we need to get that job done, right? And then afterwards, it's a different thing. The body now requires different signal configuration to accelerate the recovery time, to get rid of, to decrease the recovery time, and we got to get rid of that lactic acid. That's why sports organizations are really excited. That's why elite athletes are flipping out over Beamer, because it actually satisfies both of those situations. If you follow skiing, Mark Girardelli is one of the biggest names in the world. He's actually our sports ambassador. We're going to be bringing Mark to the U.S. and Canada toward the end of the year. We're going to do a ski circuit with Mark. We're very excited about that. Now, these individuals, they may not mean anything to you, but they're big-time brands over in Europe. World-class elite athletes, guys. Really excited. This is my new inspiration. He's my hero, 1945. So that would put him 70 years old. And look at that frame, you guys. It's amazing what the body can do, what it can look like when you give it the raw materials that it needs. And I'm going to suggest to you, it doesn't matter what. Nothing is more important than oxygen and nutrients getting in, waste getting out. So Beamer becomes the perfect complement, that perfect adjunct to any kind of modality, that you might have going on. Absolutely awesome. Beamer's won all sorts of awards. We've got people buying Beamers simply because of the Red Dot Design Award, the top design award over in Europe. We've been written about in over hundreds, I think actually now it's north of 1,000 different publications. Just awesome. The brand of Beamer over in Europe is absolute gold. And, it's kind of ironic in that we spend the first half of our lives, guys, chasing money. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing because that's what we're supposed to do. Whether it's a career in the corporate world, whether it's growing your own business, whether you're a professional athlete, and many times we do that at the expense of our health. Then the second half of our lives, we're actually spending the wealth to try to regain the health. Is it specific to us? No, it actually dates back to the 18th century with Voltaire. So as we wrap up on the product portion of it, can I afford it? I think the better question that you got to ask yourself, can I afford not to? We talked about the fact that the stress levels are at all-time high. We talked about the idea that toxins, what's in the air, what's in the water, what's in the ground is greater than they've ever been. We know that we are a sedentary lifestyle society, you guys. We're sitting and sitting and sitting, which is terrible for circulation. We've become a nation of fast food addicts, and we're now literally hooked on prescription drugs. That, my friend, is a recipe for disaster. And so we got to get back to this mentality of real wealth, real health insurance. And so what is your plan for that? And I'm going to suggest to you that whatever that plan is, if you don't have one, you may start to think about getting one. But Beamer, twice a day for less than a cup of coffee for you and your family. And keep in mind, no disrespect to China, these are built over with German engineering, Swiss craftsmanship. They're designed to last. So when you extrapolate Beamer over a minimum, say, of 10 years of use, for you and your family, it really breaks down to this fact. It's something you absolutely got to have. So as we wrap up, 8 minutes twice a day, again, what we're talking about is improving general blood flow, and as a result of that, more strength, more energy, better concentration, better performance, more relaxation, better sleep than you've ever had or you've had in many, many years. And guys, that is just to name a few. At the end of the day, you got to decide based upon what we talked about this evening, if this makes sense to pursue further. And I would highly encourage you to take the time, wrap your head around what's really here, go start to do your own homework. You're going to be absolutely blown away with what you discover. And then you're going to want to get back to that individual and thank them for introducing Beamer to you, because this is one of those rare occasions where tonight, May 5th, may be one of the most important days of your life. I remember when I got that call from my friend Kevin in San Diego, where he introduced me to Beamer. I will be forever grateful to that guy because it has changed my life, my family's life, and the lives of literally thousands upon thousands of people in America here in just the short time that we've been around it, which, by the way, is not even a full year. So, guys, of course, we can't reverse the biological clock, but we can certainly add more quality to the remaining years, and that's what it's about. It's about the quality of life. As I think we would all agree, what good is the wealth, what good is the equity and all the accounts and the cars and the toys if you do not have your health along the way? So we are officially done with this portion of the webinar, and we are right on schedule. What I'm going to do right now, you guys, is I'm just going to actually segue into just a few highlights about our business model. And I think we would all agree in business, being at the right place at the right time many times is more important than being smart. In business, it's all about timing and positioning. And when you look at just this demographic, let alone the senior market, this demographic alone, imagine 10,000 baby boomers every single day are turning 65. And that's a trend that's going to carry forward for the next 15 years. What do the baby boomers want? They want not only to enjoy this thing called retirement, but they also got to figure out a way to fund their way through retirement. And Beamer answers those questions in a way that I've never, ever seen any product position in the marketplace to really take advantage of the baby boomer demographic. The goal of the Gleim family, and I absolutely love the vision, is a Beamer in every home. No different than what Jobs and Bill Gates had, PC in every home. our vision, you guys, is a Beamer in every home. So if you're at a point in your life where you're really looking for something meaningful, something significant to get behind, where you're going to actually have the ability to make a huge impact on the people that are near and dear with you, first of all, and then throughout your community, and then ultimately we've got the ability to branch out all over the country and ultimately all over the world. Because, guys, think about this right now. The only way that we're going to influence and affect the healthcare model and get away from this madness of managing disease and treating symptoms, we're got to do it at a grassroots level. One person, one family at a time, one household at a time, you guys. And that is an absolutely awesome thing to be a part of. The business of Beamer is phenomenal. There's all sorts of advantages to teaming up with us. You know, the tax advantages are absolutely huge. They're flexible. I'm going to tell you guys in advance, this is not a multi-level marketing business model at all. And by the way, this is not a slam on MLM. This is a completely different business model that in my mind is much more powerful. And you're going to have a chance to partner with people that are in it for the right reasons. You see, when you don't need the money, you guys, you make the right decisions. And every decision that the Gleim family has been making and will continue to make is with the intention of Beamer being here 20, 30 years from now. So it really represents not only a career opportunity for that right individual, but there's literally here a legacy play, okay? So what does it actually take to participate? It's simple. Pick a Beamer, classic or professional. That's entirely up to you. Keep in mind, in terms of the signal configuration and the efficacy, it's the exact same signal configuration. It's just a function of bells and whistles and additional accessories. And so that's your call. $390 allows you to purchase a distributorship with Beamer. And you know what? Of your $390, $200 actually covers what's called a 2-day all-intense academy. This is where we're going to teach you how to use the Beamer, the different uses and applications, all the science, all the history, the studies, and all that stuff. Day one is all about the product, and you get totally rock solid on the technology. Day two then is all about the business model, the go-to-market strategies, how and why we're attracting healthcare practitioners that would never, ever do one of those things, and why it makes so much sense to integrate Beamer in their clinical setting, regardless of whether you're on the holistic side or traditional Western-oriented medicine. It doesn't matter, because when you can influence circulation to the degree that Beamer can, every modality is that much better. And then it's just a function of guys that are doing something that we're already doing, and that's simply sharing the news of Beamer, inviting people over to come experience it themselves. And then if you want to leverage your efforts, you got the ability to build a team around you. So it's just a function of which package makes the most sense for you. Our most popular is the Gold, which is the professional model plus the $390 rep fee. In some instances, it actually makes sense to buy 2 units up front. If you were to do that, you got a 15% discount on both the Platinum and the Platinum Plus. And then for our customers down the road, if at any point in time they wanted to become a distributor, they can for an additional $390. Okay, so that's how that works. And again, the easiest way to share Beamer is, you know what? The easiest way to market Beamer, is to share it. As we talked about, invite people over, share your enthusiasm. And here's the thing. When you look at it from a business standpoint, over the past 17 years, what these guys have figured out, the average Beamer customer will refer 3 to 5 people in their world to the representative that sold them the unit. So now it's just a function of who are those sales reps going to be, because make no mistake about it, Beamer is going to be a household name in the marketplace. It's just a function of how long is it going to take us to get there and who's going to come along for the ride. And when you understand the numbers here and how we differ from MLM, 3 to 5 referrals per customer is absolutely massive in this business model. So let's talk about some numbers here, okay? So understand, I love the plan because it's an equal opportunity. Regardless of what your skin color is or nationality or your background, it doesn't matter. We all start out at the junior rank level, meaning that we're making a 17% margin on anything that we sell. So what you're looking at is a direct sales business model with a 2-tiered affiliate plan that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. And for the sake of this conversation, let's just stay with the professional model, and let's just round it out to $6,000. And keep in mind, 98% of all of our sales are for that unit. So when you sell one of those units, your first 4 sales, you get paid at the 17% margin, meaning that you're making over $1,000 per sale, which is absolutely huge. Once you sell 4, you graduate to the senior rank. Now you're at a 50% increase. So now you're making $1,500. And from this point forward, you're there forever. We don't force auto ship on you. We're not going to make you requalify. We're not going to make you do so much productivity. I love their energy and their whole philosophy around this. They call it marketing for adults, and you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So clearly, right here, you could tell, unlike MLM, you get to dictate a large portion of your income based upon your own productivity, but it doesn't stop there. Actually, anybody that you personally bring on board as a distributor for the rest of their career, every time they sell a unit, they're going to be earning anywhere from 17 to 25%. But because you're the person that brought them to the table, you're now part of their immediate support structure, you're going to now earn an 8% override or $480 every time somebody that's direct to you makes a sale. That's absolutely awesome. So imagine, for illustration purposes only, imagine 1 sale a month by you, that's $1,500 once you're a senior. 1 sale a month by 5 representatives, let's just say it took you a year to identify 5 people to get it, that's an extra $2,400 a month in that example, plus your $1,500, that translates to $3,900 of income in that example. Of course, there are no guarantees, and that's predicated upon 6 sales. And it doesn't stop there either, because we also pay out on a second tier. Imagine now a 3% override anytime someone on your second tier makes a sale, which translates to $180 each time a professional model is sold. So this is what's available to everybody. So the direct sales, 2-tiered affiliate enables you to leverage yourself. And guys, we also have got, for those of you that are much bigger thinkers, that are really looking for a career type situation, we've got what are called leadership and management opportunities that, that then open the doors to additional streams of income. Suffice it to say, when you get to the management levels, you guys, you're making enough income to transition into Beamer on a full-time basis. And being around the direct sales industry for the past 25 years, guys, I have never, ever seen any product where it's resonating with the marketplace to the degree that Beamer has. And our business has just exploded. We are now doing 7 times the volume that we were less than 1 year ago prior to us coming on board. And the marketplace has absolutely exploded. And that's telling me that at the end of the day, like over 1 million people have come to that same conclusion. It makes total sense to own Beamer. So we are officially at a wrap. I thank you for your time, and hopefully something that was said or something that you saw on your computer screen prompts you to go do your due diligence. We want you to get back to the person that invited you. Make sure you got all of the information that you need to make the best decision for you and your family. And I'm happy to say that if you do that, we'll be welcoming you to our Beamer family. So we are officially at a wrap. Good night. God bless you guys. Take good care, everyone.